You're listening to Underestimated, the podcast that helps overwhelmed small business owners turn their size into their unfair advantage so they can grow without burning out. Now, here's your host, Shawna Suckow.
How do you compete when you're selling what the market perceives as a commodity? Now, you may think that what you sell is totally different from your competitors, but it's a matter of if your potential customers can tell or not. And so that's what we're going to talk about today is what if you do sell something that's readily available from other providers? I will be speaking later this year to a group of promotional products professionals who sell things that you can put your logo on, like cups and mugs and hats and so forth. And they absolutely are selling a commodity because 99% of them sell things that everybody else in the room and everybody else in their market can also source and put a logo on and provide essentially the same service and the same products. So how do you get new customers when your customers can't tell you apart from everybody else? And what I find with that is that can be a race to the bottom where you're competing on price. And let's be honest, none of us out there want to compete just on price unless that's your business model. And then by all means, as I say, you do you. But let's talk today about how you can get new customers by standing out in different ways and being more discernible to your customers as something really special and unique that they have to order from you because they don't want to order from anybody else. They like you, they trust you, and they're going to always talk about you and give you their loyalty and refer you. Those are the types of customers that we're talking about. So let's dive into that. Let's talk about some examples of commodities out there and industries that are highly commoditized. Car sales. Of course, I can get the exact same car from practically any dealer in the state, the country. So why would I go to one versus another? Well, especially in an industry like that, it's all based on trust. So cars, how about like plumbers? Essentially, every plumber can fix the same things you would hope. So plumbers also something that's kind of indiscernible one from the other unless you really are standing out differently, building trust differently, and being unforgettable in your marketplace. And I already talked about promotional products. So those are just three examples of types of industries that can really struggle if your marketing plan is to be professional and polished and say all the right features and benefits because that's what your competitors do. Well, that's an easy way to get lost in the market and not stand out. And I see that over and over again. I get those flyers like value packs in the mail, and I always feel bad for many of the companies that are advertising in there because they're small businesses. They're trying to make a go of it, and they're spending a lot of money to be in those value packs or val packs. And as I look through, they're all saying the same thing, not just in the same industry. Service providers of all kinds, they're all saying the same thing, like free estimates, great service, on time, family owned, things like that. And while those are all good things to be as a company, you can't say the same thing as everybody else just in one val pack, let alone everybody else in your marketplace, everybody else on Google, or you're not going to stand out. You are making yourself interchangeable. So rather than fighting the fact that you are a commodity or perceived as one, you're lumping yourself in with all the others who claim to be as great as you are, and you know that you're better. But how do you convince the market that you are? That is the challenge that we're talking about today. So let's go back to cars. Now, I was looking at some car sales websites, and this is what I found. Knowledgeable, friendly, here to help, great service, low pressure. That could essentially be applied to any car dealership or also any plumber, any home remodeler, anybody in a service business is going to say most of those things. So they're lumping themselves into every service. Now let's talk about plumbing. I researched that. Fast service, honest work, licensed, emergency repair, knowledgeable, friendly, family owned. we're starting to hear the same things again and again. Now, there are nuances in their industry say that you have to have emergency repairs, but dentists, emergency appointments, a lot of different industries that provide services use those same things. And when our customers, the average American is getting 10,000 marketing messages a day, we have to do something different, because I bet you don't remember seeing 10,000 marketing messages yesterday. You probably remember about maybe 10, maybe 20. All those other ones, we all have become experts at filtering those out. So if you don't want your marketing to just be simply filtered out, we have to do something different. And so let's talk about the plumber. So how can a plumber stand out? And you can apply this to your business based on the same kinds of things. So take a look at, list out all of your features and benefits that you would advertise or that are on your website, or they are on a flyer or whatnot. Take all of those ways that you describe yourself. Now, if those could essentially, you take your logo off and you slap your competitor's logo on there, does it sound the same? Is 90% the same? Heck, even if 50% is the same, we got to do something different. So it's about either niching down, finding your exact right customer and becoming the specialist, the more highly sought after, more highly paid specialist in your field, or it's about saying all of those things completely differently than your competitors would say. And I talk about that in episodes about storytelling. So look for those, and I'll link some of those down below. But let's focus today on how can you niche down? How can you find your niche and really attack that and be known as the go-to in your market for that? And one of the examples I give, let's go back to cars. So say you own a really, really expensive, nice car. Are you going to go to the closest mechanic when you hear a weird noise that your car shouldn't be making? Are you going to go to the one that gives you coupons and discounts all the time? Or are you going to go to the specialist? You're going to go to the specialist because you have a unique need and you want somebody who knows what they're doing the first time around. So let's pivot, hate that word, let's pivot back to the plumber. So instead of being a plumber that has fast service, honest work, licensed technicians, and emergency repair, what if you went after a particular market and became known as the old house plumbing expert, where you position yourself around aging systems, weird house layouts, old pipe materials, preserving homes, the things that people who own older homes care about. They care about, okay, they don't want to hire a plumber who charges them a fee just to show up of like $140, let's say. I have no idea what the average plumber costs just to show up today. But say they have to pay $140 and the plumber shows up and says, yeah, these parts, this unit, we don't work on this unit. This is old. Sorry, can't help you. You need to call a specialist. You've wasted that time. You've probably taken a half day off work and you've wasted the money. So would you, if you're an old home owner, wouldn't you look for somebody who specializes in that because you've been burned before? So would you, whatever business it is that you have, would you rather be the neurosurgeon who's sought after and highly paid and does the one thing really, really well? Or would you rather be the general practitioner and have to compete with everybody else? There are so many more general practitioners out there. And you can choose to do that, or you can choose to discover what your niche is. And you probably already have one because there's already an expertise that you have or a type of customer that you love and you wish you could clone. That is what I call your exact right customer. If you could pick one type of customer or one type of service or one type of company or industry that you would prefer to serve, who is that? And can you go all in attracting and marketing to those customers? Because I know you've got a limited marketing budget, you have limited time. Would you rather um, distill that limited marketing budget thin and wide, or would you rather go all in and put all of your focus on X customer? Let me give you another example. I was speaking to a group of realtors, and if you've been in one of my audiences, you may have heard this before, because I'm just so impressed with this young woman. She came up to me afterward. I was talking about this very thing because realtors are absolutely a commodity. Now, there are some that have more experience. There are some that specialize in a neighborhood or something like that. But this realtor was young. And for a young realtor to only be 2 years in, they are struggling because they don't have the experience and they don't have the referrals, and they are trying to break into a really tough marketplace. So this young woman came up to me afterward and she said, I figured out what my niche is going to be. And she rolled up her sleeves. And this woman looked like everybody else in the room, very put together and professional, and wearing her blazer and nicely put together, like everybody else in the room, very professional. She rolled up her sleeves and she is covered in tattoos. She's got sleeves under her sleeves, if you will. And she said, I want to serve the tattoo culture. I want to serve people who own tattoo parlors, who frequent tattoo parlors. This is like a family to me. And I have credibility in this marketplace, and I never thought of that. So this woman would struggle if she were trying to be everything to all people, because she doesn't have that kind of reach or that kind of experience or the kind of budget to really stand out against way more established realtors. So she is going to, I should really follow up with her and see how she's doing. She was going to go after the market that she knew that she wished she could clone. What is yours? Let's talk now about promotional products, because I've spoken to this industry several times, and I used to own, back in the last century and early this millennium, I used to own a promotional products company as one of several that I owned at the time. And you absolutely have to compete on price unless you have a major differentiator. And when customers can't tell the difference, they don't see meaningful differences between you and your competition, they don't trust your claims because you're saying that the things that everybody else is saying. I have real attention to detail. I have great follow through. I'm very customer oriented. All of your competitors are saying that too. So they don't trust your claims. They can't see the difference. Everyone sounds identical to them. And maybe they lack expertise. Maybe they haven't bought. I worked specifically with event planners who bought large quantities of something, and their job is on the line if an order goes wrong for a major convention. If you're selling them tote bags that everybody's going to get to carry around all their swag, and those don't come in, that event planner could lose their job. So if they feel uncertain, or if they lack the expertise, or they feel overwhelmed with choices, or for example, like another example, we are in the market to buy an RV. I have never owned an RV. We went camping when I was a kid, but that was a camper on top of a truck, like a little one. I've never owned an RV. I feel overwhelmed by the options, by my lack of expertise, and it's a big ticket item. So whether you're selling pens, or whether you're selling RVs, or anything in between, you have a struggle on your hands if your customer can't tell the difference. So what if you offered the type of specificity that made them feel safe, that made them trust you, that made them seek someone like you out, and made you memorable, even if they weren't ready to buy? There is nobody that I've come across in the RV market, and we've been in the market for a couple of years because we're not ready to pull the trigger. And part of that is it is a big ticket investment, and we don't know what we don't know. If there were a company that specialized in first-time RV owners, and they would walk us through it, and they would have like a class on how to take your first road trip and how to clean out the tanks and how to weatherproof and what do you do in the winter? I don't know any of these things. Of course, I could learn all of these things on Google, but who's got the time? So if I had an expert out there that specialized in that, I would drive hours to go give them my business because I would trust them. I would feel safe. They would have the expertise. I wouldn't feel dumb. So that's what we're going for. So unless you are really wanting to compete against everybody, because I know a lot of small businesses think, I can't niche down. That's the kiss of death for me. I am new or I am really small and I have to take whatever business comes my way. I get it. I have been you. I have been there. And I know that when you're new, it feels very risky at any time. If you've been in business 10 years, it feels risky to drill down and limit your market. I get that. What I'm saying is, it doesn't mean you can't serve anybody who seeks you out because they know your mom or they met you at a ball game or whatever. It doesn't mean that you can't serve those other types of businesses. It means that you hyper focus your limited, precious marketing dollars and your limited, precious time to really drilling down and talking as if you are talking only to the first time RV buyer, or only to the event planner who's nervous, or only to the person who has a really old home. See what I'm saying? So if you are competing on, we have friendly service and we have knowledgeable sales reps and we go above and beyond and we're your trusted partner and we have over 20 years of experience. Guess what? You are lumping yourself in, you're competing on price. They're going to price shop you and they're not going to be loyal when somebody comes along that offers them a lower price and gives them even an inkling more trust or more of whatever it is that they are lacking. They are not going to be loyal. And that's not what we want either. I would rather have a small cadre of, that's a big word for the day, a small cadre of fiercely loyal ambassadors who will always buy from me, who will always post on my social media posts. They'll comment and say, we love you. You're the only one we would ever do business with. People are fools if they don't reach out to you. Those are the types of customers I want more of. And as a speaker or as a consultant, it took me years to focus only on small businesses because I was afraid. So I've been there. I'm speaking from experience. I was afraid because I have spoken to the huge companies, and the more experienced I've gotten over the years, my fee has gone up. And I thought, I have always loved the mom and pops, the micro businesses, the solopreneurs, the businesses that are on the cusp of getting bigger and they have a choice to make about their culture and what they're going to do and how do they hold on to that while they grow. Those are the types of companies I love, but I didn't think that they had the money as my fee got bigger. They didn't have the money to hire me to come in as a consultant or to come in and speak to their company. I was wrong, because only when I decided to hyper focus on that niche did I really stand out to associations who are filled with small business owners across any industry who need what I know, to small businesses who are at the point where they are about to be a $5 million company and they need me at that pivotal point, or they're about to crack their first million or their first 100,000. Those are the ones that bring me in for either a short-term consultancy or a long-term. And that part of my business took off when I decided to say, I'm not a marketing expert. I am a small business marketing expert. I've owned my own businesses since 1999. I have owned a dozen, I got to count at some point. I've grown a dozen or more small businesses. And this is what I love. This is what I know. And these are the types of consumers that I study. Only then did my business really take off. And I did not have to struggle as much to market myself. because I wasn't as homogenous. There's another big word for you. I wasn't as lumped in with every other speaker who claims to be a marketing expert. And I had a hard time standing out until I was able to break through because of my storytelling, or because of my ability to build trust, or because I got referred from somebody who was in one audience to another event planner or a chamber or whatnot. So I've been there, and I am here to tell you, only when I drilled down did things really take off. And I have been a speaker. I had been a speaker for over 10 years at that point before I took the leap of faith. And I wish I would have had the courage to do it much sooner. It would have made my journey as a less experienced speaker a lot more successful a lot earlier had I taken the leap of faith. So I encourage you to consider doing that. It doesn't mean you can't take the other business. It just means you're hyper focusing your time, your energy, your messaging, so that when somebody is scrolling through their social media, or they are searching AI and looking for somebody like you, AI is far more likely to suggest you, or social media, they're so much more likely to stop the scroll because you're speaking directly to them, rather than posting something that says, I love plumbing. I love fixing sinks and showers and toilets and all that. Are you going to stop scrolling and watch that? Maybe, if you have an immediate need at that exact right moment, which is only ever 5 to 10% of the people out there. So you're threading a needle. They're more likely to stop the scroll if they do have an old house, to continue that example. And you're saying, I was at this 100-year-old house today, and you won't believe what I saw. Aren't you more likely to just go, hey, I own an old house? Or you're just curious, like, what did they see? Did they find a dead body in the basement? Did they, what was there, gold in the wall? What? So you're far more likely to stand out with your specific stories. You're more likely to stand out to your specific market, who's going to be looking for your specificity, your expertise, if you take the leap of faith. Let's go back to the car dealership example to close this out. What if you saw a post on social media for a car dealership that said something like, we are the anti-dealership experience, or we're the anti-dealership? You would go, huh? Okay, what's this about? And they say something like, we don't have mystery fees. We don't do the thing where we have to go talk to our manager. We don't, we don't play games. We have transparent pricing. We're going to tell you how much we are making from this sale, and how much that goes into the price that we set, and why. We're going to tell you the things about this vehicle, the pros and the cons. We're not just going to try to sell you any old vehicle. That would be refreshing. That would be trust building. I would drive past several other dealerships to go to that one because they did something different. They were specific. Now, that's not as much of a niche as it is telling a different story, but they're taking what is a huge perceived commodity and a huge trust risk, and they're saying something different. That is what I'm talking about here. When we are afraid to take a stand, we're afraid to drill down, we're afraid, well, we might alienate our other customers. That's when we become beige. We become boring. We become interchangeable. We become the commodity that we don't want to be. So how can you drill down? How can you tell a different story? How can you be more specific and funnel all of your time, effort, your wording, your money into talking to directly the exact right type of customer that you wish you could clone? This has been Underestimated. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to Underestimated, hosted by Shawna Suckow. To connect with Shawna, go to thebuyerinsider.com.